Congo,
Yeah.
or in the southern Sudan, or the Palestinians, or even people they've sent our sons and daughters to kill in Iraq and Afghanistan. What do we do? Or in Pakistan, or Yemen, or other parts in Africa, for example. What do we do? Do we think about these people? And do we let them act in our name, but not in our interest? How do we justify that? And so it's time to reflect, right? And so we need to celebrate. We need to sing ourselves and dance to ourselves. We need that. I would never say that's not right. I was giving a lecture the other night in New York, and I was saying about how, I was very impressed with the Muslims when I was in college, because the Muslims had a lot of discipline, and I like discipline. But they didn't dance. So I was trying to think, can we dance and do discipline? And I think we can.
Yeah.
But sometimes if we dance too much,
Yeah.
and we dance our lives away.
Yeah.
All right. If we do all those things, and we get that there's another part of life that makes our celebration so much sweeter.
Come on.
If these things are taken care of. If people have homes, and if they're eating well.
Yeah.
And if they have health care.
Yeah.
And if they live in peace.
Yeah.
And if we and they have security of person.
That's right.
We live and can sing and dance so much more deeply and in appreciation of the good of life.
That's right.
I want us and everyone to have a good life.
Yeah.
But I know from my forefather, Frederick Douglass, and Ella Baker, my foremother, and Harriet Tubman, my foremother, and Malcolm X, and Messenger Muhammad, and Fannie Lou Hamer.
Yeah.
I know from them that without struggle, there's not only no progress, there's no promise.
Peace.
And how do we relate to the environment? Kwanzaa is an environmentally conscious holiday. One of the fundamental overarching activities is to show special reference for Creator and creation. And to pause and make a commitment to protect and preserve the earth from its enemies. And Odu Ifa says that people should stop sacrificing for money. And start making sacrifices to protect the earth from its enemies. And what are the enemies of the earth? Plunder, pollution, and depletion. Should we allow people to just plunder, to destroy our future generations' capacity to see and taste clean water, to breathe clean air, to walk on unpoisoned soil?
That's right.
And so I say to you, let us always remember that in the midst of all our celebration of the good is our need to recommit ourselves to make sure the good survive and flourishes in our lives and in the lives of coming generations. And so the original enduring language of Nguzo Saba and Kawaida philosophy calls for, if you remember the language, striving, struggling, building, developing, and sustaining, maintaining in the interests of our people, and with due attention to the whole world. Rightly read and reflected on deeply then, the Nguzo Saba reveal a rich array of cultural values, especially emphasis on life, on community, on family, on culture, on spiritual and ethical grounding, and on the ethics of struggle for good for ourselves and the world. and its culture, values, and practices. These cultures, these values, traditions, reflect the way we conceive and live our lives. This is what's good about these values. They represent how we conceive and live our lives. Second, they represent how we build and nurture our relationships. How we understand and carry out our obligation, decide on and do our work, and determine and plan and wage our struggles. We have to use our values to do this. We have to use our principles to engage in these practices. So let's go down these principles and see the richness of the lessons they teach us. The first principle is umoja. Unity. It teaches and cultivates in us the active commitment to a caring togetherness in our families and communities as African people. Unity is not just an abstract, it's a caring togetherness. And it implies a principle togetherness. We need people to care for us. We need to care for each other. That's kind of what it means to be human.
Say.
If we don't have people to care for, and if we're not capable of caring, and if we don't run into people that care, it can ruin our lives. So when we talk about it, don't ever forget, we have to care. And sometimes, and I'm a nationalist, right? So I'm a black person, and I'm a black nationalist person, all of it. But sometimes black thinking people,
Come on.
they don't express their emotions enough.
Yeah.
One thing, that's another thing I told the New York people. Because New York people, I was telling them, sometimes we get jaded.
Come on.
Because we do the same things a lot of times. And we don't vary them. And sometimes we might do them mechanically. You know, it's like being in love after a while. You know what I'm saying? B.B. King, the thrill is gone. That's rough, right?
That's right.
But don't let Kwanzaa be like that. Don't do it. And this is one thing I always praise Buffalo for. That's right. I mean, the spirit y'all have. It's encouraging. When I come here, I get uplifted also. Keep doing the beautiful things you're doing. Teach them to your children and teach them to others. This principle of unity also fosters a genuine sense of kinship and shared interests of common good with other humans. Sometimes that's difficult because the other humans we went into, especially those that rule this society, they're kind of rough.
Yeah. Tell it.
But they express a different kind of humanity we don't even want to deal with. Right?
Come on.
I'm letting enough to control our lives.
Yeah.
That's right. See? Let's just face it. I mean, and sometimes they have, and this is what we're struggling with in the streets now, they have this reckless and depraved disregard for black life.
Come on.
And so what we have to do is restrain that kind of practice and finally end it. And we cannot do that if we ourselves are not unified. And if we ourselves don't have an active solidarity in struggling for good in the world. And so I want us to rebuild our movement. I want us to smile again and be confident and recapture that victorious consciousness we once had. You know, I don't ever lose it. I'm talking this way since day one. I'm sorry, hour one. Minute one, second one.
Come on.
And I don't move from there. I didn't come to these conclusions by revelation. Something just hit me one day. No. I had to study and read, right?
Tell it.
It's not like somebody in the university told me this. That's not so. I had to read. I had to take ourselves seriously. I had to take black seriously.
Come on.
You gotta take black seriously. And you gotta see, black is not just a color, but a culture and a self-conscious practice. To live that culture, to practice it in our daily life. This principle of unity calls for also a special solidarity with other oppressed, suffering and struggling peoples in the world who are also in righteous resistance to create a good life for themselves and to establish the basis for increasing human freedom and human flourishing. The principle of Umoja also urges respect for the sacredness and interrelatedness of life. It teaches us a profound sense of oneness with the world and an ethical responsibility for its well-being and flourishing. The second principle, Kujichagulia.
Kujichagulia.
Self-determination.
Self-determination.
It reaffirms the right and responsibility of each people to determine their own destiny and daily life, to speak their own culture truth, and to make their own unique contribution to reconceiving and reconstructing society and the world. And it commits us to mutual respect for all persons and possessors of dignity and divinity, entitled to equal right, equal treatment, and to the shared goods of the world. The principle of Ujima. Collective work and responsibility.
Collective work and responsibility.
It teaches us that we are all and each responsible for building the life we want to live. We must, people, build the life we want to live. It will not be given to us. There's no chance that our oppressor would come up and say, I'm sorry. All these years I've mistook who you are. I didn't realize your worth. I did not know you were the elders of humanity. The fathers and mothers. I didn't know how creative you were.
Come on.
How resilient and resourceful you are. I feel ashamed of my low-lying ways.
Not gonna happen.
That is unlikely. Rescue me if I'm wrong.
You're not wrong. Go ahead.
Keep it real. Keep it real.
So we each and all are responsible for building the life we want to live and the caring community, just society, and good world we want to live in and leave for future generations. The principle of Ujima calls on us to engage the problem of our brothers and sisters as our own and to solve them together and to recognize we are responsible to and for each other in our shared work and struggle to bring and sustain good in the world. The principle of Ujamaa. Cooperative economics.
Cooperative economics.
Teaches us an ethics of shared working well and the good and rightfulness of the cooperative creation and sharing of good in the world. It calls on us to give rightful respect and just treatment to workers and due consideration and care to the poor and the vulnerable. It teaches us to care for the environment and resist corporate and other plundering, pollution, and depletion of the earth. The principle Nia. Purpose. Commits us to work for the realization of the collective vocation, an ancient African ethical imperative found in the Odu Ifa that says, let's do things with joy. Surely humans have been divinely chosen to bring good into the world. And this is the fundamental mission and meaning of human life. But as I've said so much, even as we're chosen, we must always choose. We must choose to act in ways worthy of the divine choice and assignment to constantly bring good into the world. And as Marcus Garvey taught us, we must always work to restore Africa and African people to their proper place in the world. And he says, quote, as a bright star among the constellation of nations. Not a twinkling star, twinkling star, but a bright star. The principle of creativity. Teaches us to do all we can in the way we can in order to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than we inherited. Thus the ancient Martin ethical imperative of Saruj Ta calls on us to be responsive to and responsible for the well-being of the world and all in it. I know that's a deep conversation to be responsible for the world and all in it. Especially when we got problems on the local level. You know? But we must think grand, or we'll always be small. We must have exalted goals so that we can be uplifted, guided, and always have a superior aim and purpose.
I say,
This is what this gives us. That this is a moral obligation to heal the world, to repair the world, to renew it and transform it. And in the process, we heal ourselves, we
Yeah.
repair ourselves,
Yeah.
we renew ourselves,
Yeah.
and we transform ourselves.
that's it.
So the ancient teachers in the Husia says to us, we are to raise up what is in ruin, we're to repair what is damaged, rejoin what is severed, replenish what is depleted, set right what is wrong, strengthen what is weakened, and make flourish that which is fragile and undeveloped.
Come on.
The principle of Imani.
Imani.
Faith.
Faith.
Teaches us to embrace the beautiful and unbreakable faith of our foremothers and forefathers. They had an unbreakable faith. And they believed in the good and its eventual triumph.
Yeah.
They didn't doubt for a minute
Come on.
that truth would triumph.
right.
That good would come back into its home.
Come on.
That mock would replace the Isfet that for temporarily had the upper hand.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
believed that. They believed it in Africa. They believed it in Georgia and Alabama.
Come on.
And they believed it in Buffalo.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes, they did. Woo!
And how did they keep going? First, they linked their faith to hard work.
Yeah, come on.
I know you can't just believe. You got the word. Second, they linked their hope to righteous and relentless struggle. Because without struggle, you're hopeless.
Yeah.
And finally, this is sometimes hard to see, but it's real. They link their prayers to transformative practice.
Come on, come on.
I will be the last person to tell you not to pray.
Come on, come on.
I'll be the first person to say, get up and go forward.
That's it.